Hello. Hello. How are we doing? I have wonderful news, though it's news that we knew was coming. Let me get the screenshot. Okay, there we go. Okay. So, as you know, last week, starting from my debut up until that Friday, Cheeky ran a promotion, a sale on, or not a sale, but just a promotion in general, where if you used my code, you got 20% off. And they were going to donate $1 per bar of soap sold using my code. So they wrapped that up Friday, they got the numbers all done, and they made the donation. And here's the receipt, because when you donate, you should provide receipts that you donated so people know you donated. And they did. They did $1 per bar. It was 3,442 bars of soap sold, which is insane. So thank you all for that. Thank you all for that. It was a really successful thing. Yeah, just thank you. Thank you for helping us get something thrown. Again, this is profit that Cheeky would have made that instead they are just throwing at this. They're just throwing it right at the Immune Deficiency Foundation, and they did it through Mouse's link. So yeah, appreciate that, everybody. If you bought soap as part of the promotion, or if you just donated or donated plasma, even, because we were encouraging that as well, whether you bought soap or not, yeah, highly appreciate. Okay, and hopefully this means that if any of you are part of my community and are going to a convention, that I will hear back that you smell good, because I'm so tired of friends going and then reporting on how those conventions are and going, wow, people smell like shit. Now we know for sure it's not us. it's not it's not this community, right? That's none of us. So good to know. Great to hear, right? I appreciate that. I appreciate that. I'll put this here. Wow, look at that. Wow, I'll put it right there. Boom. But yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. Donate plasma. Some do pay you for it. Yeah. Sometimes, not always. Sometimes. Couldn't pass up 20% off. It's actually a huge discount. Yeah, most creator codes are not that much off of anything. So yeah, I was thankful that they were willing to do that. So not only did they not really like make much money from all the sales, also anything that they would have made, like a lot of that was just going into this donation. So I'm really, thankful that they were willing to do that just to do it. So thank you all. Is it still live? My code is always live. My code is back to the usual 10%. Normally it's 10. The 20 was just for this week plus this IDF promotion that we were doing. When I do major events, we might make it 20 again during those times sometimes, but yeah, it's 10 right now. Which I think they're giving me a updated panel that'll say 10 on it somewhere. I'll have one, but yeah, thank you all. Thank you all. We were talking about even doing something in the future. I wanted to find a good charity for ovarian cancer, and specifically a research-based one.
Do your time to get
Maybe
security to do a smell check before any of your meet and greets faction redeems chat.
Thanks. Thank you for the bits. But yeah, I think that'd be nice to do in the future. Some sort of charity thing for like an ovarian cancer research foundation, or honestly, I think the awareness ones are still good for that, because most people catch it super late. Most people don't know that they have it. They find out that they have it incredibly late, and therefore the mortality rate is really high. Most people that get it don't do so well. So, you know, I think that would be really good. Even though PCOS is really understudied. Yeah, I thought I had PCOS until I found out it was not that. It was just cancer. Just cancer, but you know what I mean? It was cancer. But yeah, like a lot of my symptoms just pointed to something like that, which is pretty normal, pretty common, you know? And again, even those which don't really like kill people like that are understudied, like you said. So just like women's health in general, I feel like awareness campaigns, sometimes with other things, I'm like, do we really need more awareness? We need more research money. On this though, I'm like, we actually do though. We actually do. So yeah, so maybe I'll find the right one of the right charities to give to. You're scaring us. I don't care. I don't care. Awareness is more important than having to listen to something and be like, oh, I'm scared. Oh, I'm a little scared. Be scared, close your ears, don't listen to anything, and then later you get cancer and you're like, I don't know anything about it now. You know, not really a good scenario. So, you know, I think it's a good idea to talk about stuff. Real shit, right? I think it's important, and even if I feel like sometimes I'll like repeat stuff that I've said before, I'll still do it. You'd worry around 35. Brother, I'm not even gonna go into it. I'm not even gonna go into it. I don't care. You should be scared that you could get anything at any age. When I got my diagnosis, I was way, 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 way before the age group that usually gets it. Okay. And I was told that they didn't really suspect that I had it for the longest while because I was not anywhere near the risk group for it. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Okay. So is your mom and your sister. Exactly. And you say you have good genetics. Oh yeah, have you been fully tested for every little thing? No, you haven't. You have not. You just simply haven't. So stop typing. That's all I'm going to say. You check your prostate every day just in case. That's right. That's right. Said your brother or a buddy of yours developed a cancer for men in their 70s at the age of 33. It can happen to anyone. Yeah, I haven't really had many people in my family have any of these kinds of issues. There was one person in my family who had breast cancer. One. Which is not even the same type of cancer that I had, but they are a little bit linked, a little bit. And that's it. No real history of it besides one person in my family. And then even in previous deaths and things, it was always different causes. It wasn't that stuff. So I was not really considered like a high risk person or anything. I was negatively lucky, right? I was lucky in the wrong way. There you go. Right? So you could think you're fine, but like, yeah, it's literally RNG. It's a roll of the dice. Every single time a cell divides, there's a chance something could go wrong. And it happens a lot.
Hey, GEEGA, congratulations, by the way,
okay,
on being the newest.
That's me. That's me. But yeah, even if you've had no real big family history, anything could happen to you at any point in time. A history starts with one person having a thing and then passing it. So don't care if you think it won't happen. You just, anything that seems off, you should take it seriously, right? And maybe you go to the doctor and they're like, shut up, you stupid idiot. You just have a cough, you know, whatever. But, you know, you should take everything seriously just in case, because you don't want to not. And then later you find out, had you taken it seriously early on, that you wouldn't really be in that scenario, right? So just saying, you know, be careful with this kind of stuff. Take everything seriously. Right? Rather be a stupid idiot than a dead idiot. Yeah. Exactly, exactly. You know, and even me, I got stuff checked out and we didn't think it was that. I was told it was other shit and I was like, oh, okay. But I still went back. You know what I mean? I still went back every now and then being like, something's still up. Whereas a lot of people would have just given up, I think. So, you know. Just, be careful. Be careful. You said, never hurts to get anything you're really worried about checked. And someone replied, unless you are American. Don't get me started. Yeah, I'm not gonna sag farm you about it, but I genuinely, I had to spend so much money out of pocket to get shit done and checked. So much, and it was insane. Crazy. So, agreed. Ooh, you had Hodgkin's lymphoma. We found it via a blood clot. Find out after 12 rounds. Oh, okay, good. 12 is a lot, yeah. It's a lot, but it's not. At the same time, for like the amount of time you're dealing with it, it feels like forever, but you know. Yeah, Hodgkin's lymphoma is actually really, really common. You had colon cancer at 23. Damn, that's young for that. But that's the thing, right? They're like, oh, you don't have to get a colonoscopy until you're 40 or whatever the fuck they start telling you. And I'm like, but if something's weird, it's weird, you know? So, just saying. Take everything seriously, because, like, it's more common than you realize. Not everyone who had an issue like that and then got it fixed up and worked on is gonna go around like their normal life and be like, by the way, I had this at 20, you know, or whatever. So there are gonna be people around you that probably have dealt with this stuff and you're not gonna know. So you're gonna feel like it's not that common, but it kind of is. There are definitely people around you that have had these things and they just haven't like felt it necessary to tell you, you know? So people underestimate how long it takes to really get fully functional again after cancer treatment. Oh, I know. I had my surgery. Any treatments I had were after my surgery. I had my surgery in early, what was it? Was that early 2023? It was like a long while ago. And then I spent time doing whatever post-care and et cetera, and getting back to normal. And it wasn't until like a year, like over a year later, that I did a stream in a 3D suit. And I was like, look, I can like lift my leg up and stuff. And there are some folks that have, I don't think they mean poorly. I don't think they mean poorly at all, but they were just like, wasn't your surgery so long ago? Like, because I was like, wow, look, I can move again. And I was like showing that I could. And they were like, wasn't it so long ago? And I'm like, I don't think people understand how long this stuff takes. like even if you just get a normal ass surgery for some little thing and you have no post treatments and you're just trying to get back to normal, like when you cut through muscle layers, you don't just like snap back. You know what I mean? I don't know. But yeah, there was a lot. And then I had like stuff done with my organs, you know? So I'm like, dude, it's a lot, dude. People don't realize. So, yeah, you didn't jump out of bed and go for a 5-mile jaunt in the woods. Yeah, no, it was a big deal to me to be able to like be like, oh look, I can move around. Even now, like I still have progress I want to make. I'm still trying to gain weight. It's still hard for me to like gain weight back, which I need to do in order to be like lifting again and stuff, which I'm doing like little bits, but not much, you know? But I want to get back to it, and I have to gain weight first. But I can't gain weight; it's hard. So, you know, bulk error. I'm not gonna go into the intricacies of my issues with like food and eating right now, but like I'm a little medically compromised, so like it's not as simple as just eat more right now. It's not as simple as just eat shit or anything like that. So, yeah. No advice, please, is what I'm saying. Eat more soap. That's true, though. That part is true. But yeah, it's just tough, man. It's a lot. It's a lot, and I think some folks don't realize how long it takes, dude. Look out, Oscar. Look out. I don't know. You know what I want? I can't wait. At some point, I'm gonna be at the point where I just have to eat so much I feel like throwing up all the time, and I'm like getting there. I can't wait. I can't wait, man. I'm gonna get to the point where I just that's literally it. I do try to graze though. You see me like snack a lot on stream, where I'm trying to just get more calories in me, you know, like that sort of stuff. What buffet are you gonna hit up? Cece's Pizza? Nah, I hate buffets, man. They're always so like, ugh, ugh. Cece's Pizza's the worst. Did you see Connor's in? I didn't know he was in New York. He's in New York allegedly, and he was showing like he was showing himself in Times Square, and I was like, why are you in Times Square? Times Square is bad. He said he'd been sitting there waiting for a while, and I'm like, no, get out of Times Square. Get out, run. There's so many better spots to be. It was just funny. I was like, oh. He was waiting for Elmo. He wanted to see like Elmo get beaten up or something, or beat someone up. I don't know. I don't remember the tweet. Why is it bad? It's just like, so it ends up getting filled with tourists. It's not really many people that live there wanting to be there or anything. It's just tourists. And it's got a lot of stores in it that are novelty stores, but they're really overpriced and they're not really anything special that you can't find elsewhere. So there will be like Lego World. They have other Lego stores in other spots. This one's it just looks a bit cooler or whatever. But it's like, it's not really that amazing. You just go in. Yeah, it's a tourist trap. But you go in and they have like Lego sets for sale that you can buy. And I could just buy them anywhere else. There's nothing special there. And then it's so packed with people that if you wanted to go to enjoy and you're like, I just really want to take pictures with the billboards or something like that, it's so hard to get that picture. It's just impossible because there are 5 billion people. So it's like really hard to do anything. Whereas you could go to like another nice park nearby. It'll still be a bit packed, but it'll be way fewer people. You can get your nice pictures. You can see cool buildings, you know, etc. So it's just like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I feel like you don't even have to go too far to not deal with that stuff. So if you want to pass through it, like just to see it, I think it's fine to walk through it. But there's no point in like staying around there, spending time there, you know? It's just no point. You always like walking around Central Park. Central Park is great. Central Park is wonderful, and it's huge. It's just huge. So like there's so many people going there and walking around, whatever, but it's so big that you won't really feel that claustrophobic. And there's so many little things within it to see that if you just go in with no plan and you just walk, you're gonna end up in all these nice spots. So I don't know. And it's if you're at Times Square, it's not that hard for you to just walk north a bit and get to Central Park. So that's why whenever I see people there, I'm like, just start walking north. Just go. Just go. You know? It was nice being in the middle of Midtown, but everything you wound up doing wasn't even really in Midtown. Yeah, the good stuff to do isn't really there. Midtown is the tourist trap. There are a lot of shops and stores and things to be at. And that's cool to look at briefly, but they're not really like good activities. I guess you're close to a lot of Broadway shit, which is nice, but no matter where you are, like literally no matter where you are in New York, you can get on a subway, end up near Broadway, go see your musical, and then leave, you know? So you don't have to be like there. Bryant Park and the Public Library are cool to go to. Yeah. Bryant Park is so nice. Washington Square Park used to be like really great. I think now it's it's very, I don't know, people keep doing demonstrations and things there and like a lot of awareness campaigns. And now I feel like if I walk through there, all I get are people trying to hand me pamphlets and stuff. I think enough tourists like started going there that they started advertising there, right? You get all these people trying to hand you stuff or getting you to do things. So I don't love that. I don't love that. I think going down toward like Rockefeller Center, if it's holiday time, is nice. You know, like see the tree. That shit's fine. I don't know, just a lot of the small parks are really nice. You would visit Wall Street. Wall Street is really nice if you're going into those buildings because you have like a work thing to do there. But if you don't actually work there, you're just gonna walk around and see people walking between buildings and rushing because they're getting to meetings. So it's not really like that great, except for there are a couple of small attractions like the Bull. Some of the parks near there are nice. A lot of the food around there is better because it's like normal people working there and needing to go on their lunch breaks and they don't want to eat shit food and they're not tourists, you know? So the better restaurants tend to kind of work out there. Yeah, I think Southern Manhattan, if you're visiting and you want to just like walk around and have a good time, just go to the Village, you know, go to like East Village or something. Walk around, a lot of good bars and speakeasies and things and good food, etc. Are the museums tourist trapish as well? Not that bad. I think not any different than they would be in any city. But they're really nice. They're really nice. They're big. They have a lot of very incredible exhibits. A lot of, if you go to the art museums and things, they have so many good things on display that are like very unique. I would go. Yeah, natural history is great. Like the cloisters, all of that. Alex, you've tried that like 20 times, and I know you're just typing shit in the chat. It's not working. So true. Museums in general are tourist trappy, aren't they? Just kind of inherently. I mean, museums are just exactly as they are. They're museums. The tourist trappy thing is like the gift shop at the end, I would say. And they all have it because they need to make money. No, I think maybe the biggest museums are a little, but in New York, there's so many smaller museums, and there's so many like art pop-ups and stuff. These installations that are there for a summer or whatever that are so nice. Where like one artist decides to do their project. Like they have this one that people love to go see. It's so simple, but it's just rooms filled with mirrors with like lights in them, and it's all these infinity mirrors. So you go into all these little rooms and trap yourself in there for a sec and look around, and it's just a cool visual experience, right? That's in New York. An artist rented out a studio area, set that up, built all of that, and then people can go in and it's a little art installation, right? Yeah, the one in Tokyo is always booked up. I believe it's the same artist. So in New York, there's a ton of that. A lot of artists do these small installations, and I wouldn't call it a museum, but if you like Google around for like art installation New York City and see what's actively going on, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can find. Does New York have a big art college? Several huge arts colleges. There's a lot of like art students, and the more legit ones, like a lot of the fine art people or people that are going to end up doing shit like the Bellagio ceiling, you know. Glasswork and all these sorts of things. But yeah, I would say if you want to go to New York and do cool shit like Broadway musicals, I would say a stage play that isn't a musical, a normal play, because they go crazy. And then yeah, more of the art installations and smaller museums are really cool. You went to the FIT museum? Yeah. FIT does their own fashion week, and they have FIT has a lot of events, and they're really good. That's actually good advice if you're like go to New York looking for shit to do. Look at what colleges are actively having some sort of student display. Even like the tech colleges or STEM, whatever. They have these like installations that they do very regularly where they have graduate students do something, whatever it is. And it's a lot of really cool stuff. And whatever you're interested in, there's something going on relating to that on the student level. And they're usually free to go to. They're usually free because it's, again, student run. So, you know, I would say try a lot of that stuff. You weren't expecting the Statue of Liberty to be so small? Yeah, people, I think in media, they make it look a lot bigger than it is. I always knew because I had been to it several times. So like I knew it was smaller, and I would watch like movies and things that would show the Statue of Liberty. And I feel like the way they would do like their big sweeping shots of it and show like Manhattan in the background, they would always zoom in on it in a way where they made the statue look like you could like stand inside it with like 100 people and still have room around you, you know? And I was like, what is this? No, it's small though. It's small. They take photos and videos from below. It looks so massive. Yeah, I mean, here. Statue of Liberty, actual size. Let me see if there's like a person for scale. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a huge statue. Like, it's enormous. But, it's on this big pedestal, this building base. And I just feel like, I don't know. You ever see Christ the Redeemer? Like, she's taller than that. But he's also up on a mountain. Let me see. Statue of Liberty. Person for scale. Let me see. Let me see if I can find, like... Oh, there's a picture of that guy that was trying to climb the statue and they had to, like... There was a guy who was trying to climb the Statue of Liberty and they had to get him off of the statue. It's happened several times, but I know there was one in particular. Here. There's people against the base of it. So it's still a big statue, but I feel like they make it look like it's bigger. You know? And like if you stood next to the statue's face, I think the face is like maybe 2 people's heights tall. Oh, here's a... The Statue of Liberty has its own museum. And it has like a replica of the face, which lets you go up to it and like see yourself for scale. So you see this? There's like people, I know it's like not showing their full bodies, but that's people standing next to it. It's still a huge fucking statue, but I feel like in pictures and movies they make it look so much bigger. They make it look so much bigger. Let me see. World's tallest statue. Oh, the Statue of Unity in India is double the height of the Statue of Liberty. Wow. Statue of Liberty is almost the same height as the Motherland Calls in Russia. Oh, I love that one. They're counting the pillar that she's standing on, though, so I don't know. Do you count the base of the building that the Statue of Liberty stands on as part of the Statue of Liberty? Or when you talk about the statue's height, do you just think of, like, just the copper statue? I feel like just the lady, right? Just Lady Liberty, and then I wouldn't count the base. Yeah, she's in her own podium, right. Photos of tour groups inside the statue look so cramped. Yeah, it's not that big. Like, it is, but not as big as they make it seem. Yeah, but sure, from the copper. I agree. I agree. I don't know. It's one of those things where I have several times had friends visit and they'll be like, I want to see the statue. And I'm like, instead of us going to see it, why don't we just take a ferry somewhere and you'll see it like in passing? And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine. You know, because I'm like, there's not too much to visit. It's cool, but it's not worth an entire day trip. So we'll take a ferry and they'll always look at it. I'll point it out. I'll be like, there she is. And they're like, what? Because you could barely see her when you're, especially if you go across like a bridge or something and you're pointing out where it is to someone, they're like squinting and they're like, huh? Because it's pretty far out there. And I'm like, yeah, there she is. And they're like, what? That shit's always funny. You did the Staten Island ferry to do that. It was free and you still got to see it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then you can go eat some good ass food and then come back, you know? It's pretty nice. You think of it as a failed Trojan horse from the French. Well, it arrived in parts, so it would have been tough to do that. But I like I like the visual. I do like the visual. You can go in the like her crown. Statue of Liberty interior. Her crown on the inside has like these windows and you can look out. Let me find a picture. Okay, yeah, this one's kind of like fish-eyed because it's honestly pretty small in there. But, this is what the inside looks like. So the front are like those ridges on her crown and they're windows so you can actually look out, which is, really cool. And it has this big spiral interior and it's legit just a giant staircase. There's just a huge spiral staircase going up. So you can climb all the way up and see how it's like attached and held together in the inside really nicely. And you can look out the windows. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. There's also her torch. So there's a way to go up there, and the torch is also like a viewing deck, but they don't really let people go on there anymore. So I think in the museum they have a replica of it so you can see it up close. It's really nice. It's really like intricate. But yeah, you're not allowed to like climb up to the torch. Here, I'll show. This is the replica of it at the museum. So that like decorative metal fencey looking part at the bottom is literally a fence. You can like stand there and hold on to the bar and look out. Which is cool, but yeah, it's not safe. The reason why the torch is off limits, it's because it's incredibly unsafe. You like will fall. The chance of an accident is huge. It is so unsafe. It's not even funny. So, yeah, you're not allowed to go on the torch. This is apparently the original, not a replica. Oh, did they replace it? That makes sense. That makes sense. It does look old and decrepit enough that it would be the OG. Yeah, as I'm looking, it's so tiny. It's so tiny. Like if you had to get in there, you have to take that little door on the side and get in there. You're like crouching. Did you grab a piece of as a souvenir? I would never grab a piece of any of this. I do have. Okay, wait. This is morbid. Maybe it's not morbid for you guys because I've noticed a lot of people don't seem to be feeling affected by it at all. I have a piece. So the old World Trade Center used to have this really beautiful marble staircase. It had these marble stairs. I remember going up and down a bunch. And when the buildings fell, I ended up having, I still own it. I have a piece, like a really clean, but like the edges are broken piece of one of the marble steps. Because I always really liked the stairs going up and down them. So I have that, and I have like the date written on it and everything. So that's a really cool one. How'd you come across it? I'm not gonna say. Well, someone I know grabbed it. So I have that chunk of the staircase. If you live there, I feel like you should have it. I had been there many times. So for me, yeah. Yeah. Wonder how much that would sell for. I don't wonder because I'll never sell it, but who knows? Who knows? I don't know, man. But yeah. And it's a big chunk. It's like it's about like 5 inches, 4 inches wide. Maybe like same depth. It's not exactly a square. It's like a little more wedge shaped, but it's pretty cool. I should see if I could get a picture of it. Maybe I'll take a picture of it. It was neat, man. It was neat. And it's so clean. When I first had it, it was like dust covered and like awful, you know. It was just terrible, but I cleaned it off. And it's nice. It almost like the sides almost look like a geode because they're crumbled, you know, like it broke apart, obviously. So it has these rough edges, and then the front edge is like the front edge of the stair is the bottom of the piece, and it's just like this nice clean cut, and it's like all clean marble up top. It's really cool. It's really cool. So I have that. I have that. Where do you keep it in your house? In a curio cabinet, in a glass curio cabinet. You were too young to understand when you saw the site before it was developed? Before it was developed. Oh, you mean the recent development? Like the park that they added? Yeah, I like it, but I don't. I don't know how.
Lady
how to describe
GEEGA,
it.
why? Are you lying about the size of the Statue of the Liberty's size? How dare you? Ghostbusters 2 is a documentary.
I showed
Why would that movie lie?
pics. I showed pics. The pics don't lie, dog. The receipts don't lie. Ghostbusters said the statue was huge. That's what I'm talking about, though, right? You would see like movies and stuff, and they'd be enormous, enormous, and then you go visit, and it's like nothing. It's fucked up. You like the memorial, but you're a sucker for water features. Yeah, I think I like the memorial, but I feel like if you had not ever seen the buildings in person, I think the memorial doesn't capture the empty space, even though it literally is empty space. I don't know how to describe this, because the buildings were huge. You would look up at them, and there was a lot about the design of it that made them feel huge, made them feel, even though they were tall, they felt tall, right? They were wide. Everything about those buildings felt enormous, especially when you went inside in the lobbies and stuff, felt enormous. And it was about the design of it. And then I feel like when you sit there and you see like two big holes in the ground, I feel like it just will never like capture how huge those buildings felt. And not just height. I mean, like even if you look at a hole in the ground of the same width, it doesn't feel the same because of the way the design was. So I kind of wish like it was I don't know how to describe it. It's hard to describe unless like you've seen both, you know. Yeah, Memorial made it feel like they were small, way more narrow feeling than you thought. Yeah. Captures the emptiness, I guess so. I don't know. I have a lot of feelings toward it where I'm just like, I don't know. Does it? I don't really feel like it does. You haven't been back since it opened? Last time you were in New York, it was still a pit. Yeah, it was just a big pit for a long time while they were still, you know, cleaning everything. For sure. Your understanding is that the memorial's construction is understated on purpose. Yes and no. There's been a lot of differing opinions on that. And there are some people that are like, this is understated on purpose. And there are other people that were like, I fought for more and they didn't give me more. You know what I mean? It's a big dramatic thing. It's not simple, but also, yeah, the cost too. The cost. And like, how do you get a room full of people who were all affected by that tragedy, like directly affected? And then you have them sit there and decide what memorial would like make sense and capture their feelings, right? Like that's such a complex thing to figure out. You just can't, right? You just can't figure that out. So I think it's a scenario where like no one's gonna be happy with it, right? It's not a fun situation. And I don't think there's any memorial that like really would do it justice unless you just put up the buildings again, but made of only steel this time or whatever, I don't know. But even then you'd get people being like, it's not the same because it's not literally the same, you know? So I think it's one of those things that you can't do anything about, right? So I don't know. I don't dislike the memorial, What I miss is I wish... So there was this statue in the middle. Let me show it. There was this, like, globe. The sphere. That got damaged. During it. So here's a picture of it before the buildings fell. And actually, you could see the two buildings and one of the other buildings that also fell in the background. This. So this was my favorite. I don't know why I liked this sculpture, but I always liked the sculpture so much. And it was obviously damaged. And I feel like the... so it used to be on this, like, big base that you see here. And it was part of, like, the big plaza, and it was really nice. But the way it's displayed nowadays, I don't like it because it doesn't have, like, this nice base to give it space. It's not, like, this big circular thing. So I actually hate the way it's shown. Here, look, I'll show you. It's been moved around, but look. They keep putting it in the middle of, like, these grassy areas, and you can see, like, there's a hole in it. Like, they specifically did not redo it. They were like, we're gonna take it in its condition, just clean it, and, like, have it. And which I think is the right way to do a memorial, right? But you see how different it looks? But it's like a lawn sculpture, right? That's the thing, is it was on this beautiful, huge base, and then here it's, like, set right on top of the gravel. And I don't like that. And maybe it's just because I always like this sculpture so much. I wish they had, like... at least its own round base with a plaque attached about what it is or something, right? Because if you didn't know what this was and you were walking past it and you didn't happen upon, there might be a plaque somewhere else, but, like, if you just didn't stop to read it, you would be like, what's that weird art thing, right? So that's why I'm like, I don't know. I felt like this was very iconic because it was between the two buildings, right? And, like, you would see it all the time. Yeah, art students had to get it right. Exactly. Yeah, it does feel like an afterthought. So I don't like... And they have moved it here and there, but, like... I don't like how they display it. Or I'll show... I like the way it started to look a little bit later. Here's another... another picture when they first returned it. This is at night, so it looks a little better. But they had this, like, almost overgrown foliage around the bottom, which I kind of felt like did look cool. Because it did look a little dystopian, right? Something about it made it feel like this looks like rubble. You know what I mean? And you can see there's a little plaque, but not everywhere that it's lived has had that. But it's only like a little better. I don't know. I feel like it just... I'm so used to it being in the center and having all this space, and that made the art piece feel really significant. So I wish it had more... I don't know. I think it just needs a base. I think it just needs a base. Right? More reverence to the object or something. It gives nature reclamation. Yeah, right. That's I feel like the way it was displayed here when they were manicuring all the stuff below looking like this was, like, not so bad, but I don't know. They've moved it around a lot. And the spot, I believe right now it's, like, higher up. I think the last time I saw it, it was a bit higher up, which was cool, I guess. But I don't know. I liked when it was on that huge base and it had, like, essentially a fountain. It used to be lit up. Let me see if I can find a picture of it. Like, before it was destroyed. It's hard to find pictures of that kind of stuff, though, because it's so, like... It's a bit old. It's a bit old. Ooh, yeah, here. Here, this is an old picture, but this one's really good. This was just cool because when you saw it at night, see that? It was like lit up from the bottom, so you could see the facets of it really nicely. And when you were walking around and it was like sunset and everything, it was beautiful. And then the fountain would come on. Oh, it was so nice. There's not many pictures that show the fountain like being on. But it had basically like from the very, very base of the statue there was this ring outside of it that water would pour out from, and then a bigger, wider fountain. It was just cool. And I liked sitting there and like hearing the water. And there were spots that you could sit all around. A lot of people that worked there would just stand around there and talk. So it was nice. It was nice. But I liked the sphere. I don't know. I think that's the one my like major issue with the memorial is like I feel like they put so much reverence on like the two towers, but there were other buildings and other things in the area. It was a whole park and a whole plaza and everything. And they didn't like do much to capture what it was like to walk around there. Instead, they were just like, the tower's gone. And I was like, okay, we know that. But like the whole area was a whole area. I don't know. There was a lot to it. There was a lot more to it. But I wanna go visit it. I haven't seen it in a little bit. I wanna go see it again. It's been a hot minute. But I don't really find myself in like that area very much. No mo, so I don't know. Oh yeah, I'm seeing like I'm looking at pictures of how they have it displayed right now because they keep re-manicuring the area that it's in to look different. It looks better. It looks better. I wanted to have a fountain. I think it needs a fountain, but that's just me. That's just me. You used to go to school down there. Your friends and you would go to the mall under the towers of lunch. Oh my god, remember the mall? I never understood why they had that because like the whole city is a mall. Right? How is it functionally different? Or most neighborhoods have like their own mall area. I don't know. There are malls within Manhattan. And I'm like, I get it, but I don't know. I don't know. The asbestos released from the collapse affected much more than the immediate surroundings of the towers too. Oh, I know. I know. People don't realize how far, not just the asbestos, but just generally the dust. It wasn't, and that's the thing is there was asbestos released from the collapse from hitting other buildings. Those buildings were not really crazily asbestos filled. It was more so the concrete dust and everything that was just like so bad. And there was dust in the air for so long. There was dust on people. There was dust. The plume of dust, I remember like looking up and it was just like, it was going out toward Brooklyn. And it was everywhere, and there were like bits of dust just landing like on other parts of the city, you know, because the wind would kind of blow it over a little bit, but it wasn't a very windy day either, so it was just a plume like generally going east a little bit, and it was just so much. No, Ryuko, it did not carry over to Chicago. The dust went east mostly, so it hit like the island, not quite Connecticut, but like Brooklyn, Queens. And yeah, it was just so much, and that's why they were like people really ended up with a lot of health issues from it. There were so many people that developed related cancers and lung diseases and stuff later in life, but way earlier than they should have, because they were responding to the scene and they had so many issues. That's that stuff that if you ever saw Jon Stewart complaining about it. I say complaining like it's a light thing, but it's a very heavy thing. If you've ever seen him talking about that stuff, that's what he's talking about, right? So he did a lot of, there were a lot of folks that were were there to respond to look for survivors or like help clean up or whatever. Even like after a lot of the dust had settled, still being there and working with it, picking up pieces, whatever, you kick up dust and you breathe it in, you know, even if you have a mask on, etc. And yeah, there's so many people working to clear the rubble for so long, for months and months and months. And people are so used to seeing like pictures and videos of the immediate aftermath, but shit was still burning, like literally burning on fire for weeks, or like ultra hot, you know, etc. It was very dangerous and dusty and whatever. It took so long, and people were going and volunteering months after to just go and do some physical labor. Like so many people volunteered to do that, but everyone who volunteered was getting exposed to dust and stuff that was there, you know. But the people that were most exposed to it, yeah, they put themselves, I mean, I don't think they realized at the time, but they put themselves at so much risk with what they were breathing in. And a lot of them needed really, really like intense healthcare, you know, after no PPE. For many of them, no. For many of them, yes. And it didn't, you know, do a perfect job. But there wasn't time. I mean, they were concerned about people that might have limited time to live, so they weren't really concerned about like, oh, let me get a mask to put on. They were just like, I'm gonna run at the rubble and start digging. You know, so it wasn't really like the time to worry about that. Know what I mean? Was enough even when they had it. Yeah, there were still people with full-on masks on and stuff like that, and they still had issues. So, you know. Some of your classes reference the companies adjacent to the buildings for disaster planning. Some of those companies were back to full operations within a few days. Yeah. I mean, a lot of people went right back to work. And worked nearby, and they were expected to get to their work buildings. And like, it was just kind of, I don't know. It was one of those things where you had to like act normal, but you like look out your work window and see like people clearing rubble, and you know there's dust in the air, and you're like, oh God, I don't want to like get exposed to the dust, right? So a lot of people did wear masks and things as they like walked to work, or straight up they just like have a towel. like people would walk to work holding a towel over their face, like a little damp washcloth or something. I remember some people using bandanas. They would wet a bandana, squeeze it out, put it over their face, and like hold it so they could try to seal the edges somewhat, and like walk to work like that. It was a weird time. It was a weird time, man. I don't know. Said, you think trying to brute force normality happens a lot as a trauma response? Yes, but I think it's not always like in a bad way. I think for some people, it's like, if I don't try to make things as normal as possible, then I will just sit here and do nothing and get stun locked, right? So they're like, even if I'm going through the motions and my mind isn't like into what I'm doing, I'm getting myself there faster because I'm keeping myself moving instead of not moving, right? I'm one of those. When something bad happens, I'm a doer. Because I feel like if I sit there and I don't do something, like any stressful situation personally, like literally anything, I feel like I have to try to do something or be constructive. Because if I'm not, then I will sit there and I will feel bad about not doing anything and about not being constructive, which will make me feel worse. And then it just spirals, right? Like nothing good happens, right? So for me, I'm a person who's like, I'm going to get things back to normal as soon as possible. I'm going to act normal. I'm going to do normal things, whatever. And it's not like I'm like ignoring how I feel or anything. I'm like, you're going to feel things in times of stress no matter what. So you might as well keep your body moving, right? So as soon as you feel even a little better, your life is normal, because you don't want to feel a little better and then you look around and you're like, oh, I've neglected everything around me for weeks, or you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like it's worse. You're putting yourself in a worse position. So for me, I don't know. Some people process things differently. I know people that have to, like, something bad in their life happens and they have to go close up in a room, close the door, do nothing. They like if they try to do stuff, they'll freak out. People are just different. I don't know. But for me, I'm like, if I did that, that would make me feel worse. like long term, that would be worse. So yeah, for me, I'm one of those people. But I always noticed I'm not saying any of you are doing this. I just, in general, I've always noticed that when I try to be constructive when things are bad, if someone else is dealing with the same scenario and they aren't like me, they would always be like, how are you acting like things are fine? And I often would get like those types of comments, to which I would often say, I'm just trying to live life and not stagnate. Things aren't fine, never said they were. And I would explain how I feel, and some people just wouldn't hear it. Yeah, like you said some people can interpret calmness in crisis as callousness. Yeah, and I'm like, sorry for trying to be constructive and trying to keep the world moving. Like, my freaking bad, dog. Right? I don't know. That's one of those things I would always just be like, they're not feeling good. I'm not going to take offense, right? Christopher Reese is on. Thank you for the 10. Thank you for the 10 gifted. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know. In like bad times, that's my go-to to like feel better and keep shit going in general is to like do. But yeah, I don't know. I've had people comment and I'm like, okay. You try to give people grace too. Yeah, I feel like that's the best you can do for them, right? Like, right, they're like lashing out or they're having a bad time or they're processing things differently. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll talk when you feel better. Right? I don't know, dude. I don't know. What can you do? What can you do? I don't know. Best to give them time and space. Yeah. I think acts of service is how GEEGA shows she cares. What are the love languages again? And I need to look up a chart. Is there any like scientific basis to this? Or is this like one step removed from horoscopes? No. 5 love languages. It's like Myers-Briggs. Yeah, I think it's one of those things like you could say most people fall into some of these categories of like this is how they tend to do these things, but I don't think it's really like deeply psychological, is it? I feel like this is more learned behavior. This sounds like it's like behavioral, not like innate psychological, right? It's an interpretive tool humans use to evaluate themselves. Yeah. I think most things where you self-evaluate are that, right? They're one step off of horoscopes where there's actually evidence of you doing a thing, so you're like, oh, that makes sense. But I don't know, if I look at them, yeah, I think I'm an acts of service person because I'm like if I don't do something for you, then I feel like I'm not proving anything. Quality time is okay. Words of affirmation, I'm a words mean nothing, only actions kind of person. Physical touch, I don't like touching people. Receiving gifts, I don't like receiving gifts that much. Yeah, I guess acts of service or whatever. Yeah, I feel like everyone does a mix of some of these, for sure. Like, you probably, like, tier list them, right? You probably tier list this for each individual. You didn't know what acts of services were until you went on dating sites, thought it was doing community service at first. It just means doing something for someone, right? Just, like, doing anything for anyone. That's really what it is. Giving them your time.
Court stream, confetti ball emoji, monsters rule.
Ooh. I'm gonna watch this faction person over here. Ooh. Said it's a way to communicate things to others about yourself, I guess, like saying what Dragon Ball Z character you are. Yeah. So like kind of like how women prefer partners doing dishes to teddy bears. That depends on the person, but yeah. I'm one of those people where like, so here's an example. One of my cousin's was pregnant a while back, and I wanted to do something for her. I wasn't gonna get her a gift. I wasn't gonna just send her messages and be like, hope you're feeling well. I went to her house and I did her laundry. Like, I just went to her house and did and folded her laundry. She had another kid, and you know, I was like, I'm just gonna do that. That's how I'll do it. But I'm not really like I'm not gonna like say a bunch of affectionate words and be like, that'll suffice. Some people like that. Some people like reassurance. Some people like receiving those words. To me, I'm just like, okay, well, anyone can say anything, right? Like, that's my brain and how it works, you know? So I'm like, so to prove something the other way, I'm like, I'll just do something, right? So I did her damn laundry. There you go, you know? And I was like, she had a toddler at the time, and I was like, why don't you sleep? I'll hang out with him. Like, you sleep, you know, stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think the love language thing is like, while it does seem pseudoscientific, I feel like everyone has their tendencies, so I feel like this isn't the worst thing. It's not as bad as like saying I do this because I'm an Aries or whatever the fuck. So I don't hate this one. I don't hate this one too much. Those gifts of service are really well received. Yeah, because I feel like they're the most practical. They're the most practical. Some people need a mix. Like, you could do practical things for them, but they occasionally need, like, that verbal reassurance or stuff like that. It's hard for me to put myself in other people's shoes because that stuff doesn't do much for me. I, like, only believe it if they, like, do a thing. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fully believe it. That's just the way I am. It's not that I assume everyone's lying. I'm just like, well, this means nothing until you, like, actually do something. All right, I'm just kind of results oriented. So for me, that's why I give in the same way, I guess. I guess so. Thanks for the bits. Thank you. It's a good categorical system, but it's not indicative of who you are as a person. Me, when I say I'm INTP, and then someone else is like, me too, we're like the same. And I'm like, okay. Okay. All right, whatever you say, pal. Whatever you say, pal. All right. They make it like we're in a cool secret club together. The MBTI is heavily flawed. Well, when you get your chart, you're supposed to look at it, and it's like you lean on, like, if 50% is the middle, you're 60% toward this, right? Or like if the middle is 0 and then there's +1 to one side or -1 to the other side, like that's how it's supposed to be. And there's a little slider of how far introverted versus extroverted you are, right? And if you're just positive slightly or negative slightly, that tells you which letter you are. But yeah, it's different because like the N for me, when I took the little test, it's always like I'm like almost 100% N, right? So someone who's like the S type, the second letter is S for them, I'm like, I have nothing in common with you on that part, you know? But there might be people who are like also INTP, and the N for them is like 51% or whatever, you know, plus 0.1. And they're like barely there. They're like in the middle, you know? So just saying like your letters doesn't really indicate that much, I don't think. INTP tech workers are rare breed on the internet. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I don't know. Like, I think the test makes some sense, but it's also super easy to fudge. It's like really simple. It goes, do you like people? And you're like, no, very much no. And then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get an I instead of an E. Ha ha ha. Rubs hands together. Like, it just, it's okay. It's okay. Trying to see some. Oh, Ryuko put the poll up. Ryuko put the poll up of what's your love language? I don't even see it. So like how NL took the autism test, but he lied on multiple questions. I took the screening test and I got like super low. I got super low on it. And there were times where I was really tempted to like answer things a certain way, but I was like, no, then I'll be fudging it. I'll be fudging it. You can get different results depending on day and mood. Yeah, that's why it's like, it's not perfect. It's not perfect. I was always receiving gifts and never giving gifts. Because I think giving a gift could be within acts of service somewhat. I think so. You said not to sound like I'm doing a bit, but what love language does having sex even fall under? I would obviously physical touch, because yeah, you could claim all the others, but like it means that that's the end all be all, dog. I don't think it's too hard to figure that one out. I don't think it's too hard. Ooh, most people said quality time. Slightly fewer said acts of service. Quality time, I see. It's not a bad one. I say that's second for me. That's second. Or acts of service. No, because then you're taking acts of service and you're like making it sexual, you know. But they mean like doing a little thing for somebody. Someone like has dishes piled up and you're like, I did your dishes. Someone's hungry. You got food. Instead of handing them their container and going, open this, you open it for them and you lay out their little fork. Like, that's what they mean. You could also probably fit that other stuff in there though, but the main definition is the other stuff, you know. It's a valid question. I think you could apply that to all of those things, but like there's clearly a main answer, right? There's clearly one. You said a 30-second act of service. I like acts of service and very little quality time. That's this guy right here. This dude hates quality time. He hates it. You said, question, as someone that shows acts of kindness, do you feel initiative is needed? I tend to need to be told, and I'm just curious. Needed in what context? Like to define it in one of these 5 categories, or like in general, do people need that? I think initiative, if you're talking about like categorizing it, I think it is needed. If you have to be told, then yeah, I think so. In general, maybe it brings you a lot of happiness to be able to do something for someone. But I think if you need to be told, then I wouldn't categorize yourself as that thing, because it's not your default to just go and do, right? It's not an act of service, that's just following orders. Yeah. I think so. Because also, like, how you feel on the inside and what you actually physically do are 2 different things, right? So, and that gets into the debate. That's where I am. So I'm a results-oriented person, like I said. If someone says, my love language is acts of service, but they don't actually do those acts of service, they just think about doing them and are like, that would be nice, then I personally would be like, well, then it doesn't matter. Then that's not your love language, because you don't actually do them. Whereas other people would be like, yeah, but that's in their mind what they feel is the thing that's most significant. And I'm like, okay. And that's where some people just differ, because I'm like, if you don't do it, I don't care. You know? It's not real. But that's just me. Because I feel like it falls into the same camp of like, you talk about doing something and you get the satisfaction of doing it without actually doing it. Well, then you got satisfaction to soothe your brain, but nothing happened, therefore it does not matter, right? That's a mechanism that happens with people. They'll get up there and talk a big talk about wanting to do a thing and then not do it, but they'll feel satisfied because they talked about it. And I think that falls into the same camp, right? So that's why for me, I'm like, it's not real unless it's like tangible. It's a thing you did. I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Everyone does it. Everyone does it. I'm not, I won't absolve myself, right? That's like, everyone does that shit. But that's why, you know, it isn't until it's done that you can really be like, okay, that person is that kind of person or this kind of person, you know? For sure. I think that's very normal. Quantify the love language. Yeah, yeah. You could maybe fit into one of these 5 categories, but not really do much of any of them. And then it just means you're not like a very loving, giving person outwardly. Doesn't mean that you feel any less. It just means like outwardly you're not. Right? You know? Like I always say, like, I don't think I'm a very affectionate person because in my mind, I feel like an affectionate person is someone who like says a lot of affectionate words or whatever, right? But then a lot of my friends will be like, no, I think you are because I do shit for them all the time. Unasked for. I'll just be like, hey, you said this thing on stream, so I made this for you. Right? You said you weren't sure about this, so I compiled some research on this basic shit, so you don't have to read about it. Here's my suggestions for XYZ. Right? I'll just like do that when they indicate that a thing would help them. So then I have friends telling me like, I think you are affectionate. I'm like, I don't think that counts, but they say it does. And you know, jury's out. we can agree to disagree. But you know, there's a lot of interpretation there for sure. Oh, what you hate is when you tell someone, this is your love language and this is what you like. And then they're like, well, it's not mine, so I'm not going to do that. They use it like a counter, like rock, paper, scissors. That's fucking crazy. You like paper? Well, I like scissors. That's... We're not compatible because I like quality time and you like acts of service. We can't be friends. That's insane. That's when it gets horoscopy. Okay, that's when it gets horoscopy. When you start like defending, you know, defining who you're gonna be friends with or whatever based off of like my love language is this. That's so stupid. Oh my god. I don't know. I only date a Sagittarius because I'm an Aries. I don't know. People like to like divine in a crystal ball, in a bowl of water, who the fuck they can be friends with sometimes. And I feel like they just don't like someone and they don't know how to say it, right? Or they're just a miserable person and they don't want any new friends. And instead of just being like nice about it and being like, I do not wish to be friends, my time is so tied right now, they're like, oh, the moon said I can't. The moon said I can't be your friend. People make shit up because they're so afraid to just say what they think. I don't know, man. I don't know. So doing that with people you want to date is one thing, but just hang out with them is fucking wild. Even doing that with someone you want to date, I mean, you could sit here and be like, I want to date somebody with this MBTI. I want them to have a love language of one of these two. I can't deal with the others, blah, blah. You could say all this shit. And then the person you end up with is probably not going to fit half the criteria you've written in your head. That's number one. Number two, if you do find someone who meets all this criteria, you're going to sit with them and you're going to be like, oh my God, there's more to a person than these 5 charts. And, you know, like, we all know this, right? So I hate when I see people do that shit because I'm like, brother, that's not what matters. I don't know. Apparently that's a big problem on like dating apps. A lot of my friends that have like tried to find love through apps, they've said that a lot of the issue is that there are a lot of people that use, whether it's bullshit like horoscopes or it's like a love language chart or whatever it is, people use these sorts of things to categorize other people instantly and use it to write people off before even like trying to even meet someone, which I think is crazy. I understand if you see someone and you're like, there's no way, and you don't want to give them a shot, but like, cast a wide net. At least meet up with people. At least try talking to them a little bit. And have some sort of normal human interaction before you write someone off, right? You could look at someone's picture and be like, I don't think I can do that. And then you talk to them and you're like, they're funny. And then you look at that same picture again and your brain is like, ha, I love them, because your brain does that, right? Like, I'm just like, why even be like that? I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. Brain chemicals are really funny and you should just give people a shot. I don't know. It's so stupid. I hate dating apps, dude. I've never tried any. I've always been like not really concerned with that stuff. I date my job, you know? And like, I would always hear friends sit there and lament about all this shit. And it always sounded so dystopian to me. They'd be like, this girl won't talk to me because I told her that I'm an ISTP and she said she can't date anyone who's got T in their MBTI. Like, I would hear this shit and I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, what? But I feel like I've heard it so many times that I'm like, is this actually that prevalent? I feel like it is now. I don't know. All right, I had one friend who was not bald, but he had a picture of himself that he really liked, and he had a hat on. And he had his sides, like, shaved down, and he had a fade going up, right? He had hair on the top of his head. But when you look at this picture of him wearing the hat, he looks like he might be bald, right? It's the angle, it's what parts of his scalp are showing, whatever. So he kept having this issue where so many girls on this dating app thought he was bald. And I was like, put up a different picture without the hat on then. And he was like, but I like this picture. He's just a person who hates pictures of himself and he just thinks he looks bad all the time. And he just liked this one photo. And I was like, come on, let's at least try. And he was like, no, this is the best photo of me. So he would just have this picture. And he didn't realize at first that girls thought he was bald. He was like, so many of them like that were talking to me, like just stopped. And I'm like, why? What do you mean? And I looked at the picture and I was like, you kind of look bald in this. And he was like, what? What do you mean? I have hair. And I'm like, they don't know that. And he didn't think anything of it. He kept talking to some people. Girls kept thinking he was older than what his age said, because he doesn't look super young in the face, but when you see him with hair, he looks a lot younger. But because that picture made him look bald, he made himself look so much older. Like, some people, their face looks their age, but for him, he just looks older, right? And I was like, you've got to take the hat off. You've got to take the hat off. The moment we see everything, you look your age. But like, the hat made him look so old, and I was like, no. I felt so bad. I don't know. It would have been funnier if those girls were really into bald guys and then it felt cheated when he takes his hat off. Yeah, and the thing is, I don't even think it was the baldness that was the issue. I think it was that the way his face looks, plus him potentially being bald, made them think he was lying about his age. And so it wasn't even like that him not having hair and him being whatever age they thought he was the problem. It was more so that they thought he was lying. So, I don't know, dude. Because he got so many messages from girls being like, are you actually this age? And then he would like send another picture. They'd be like, oh, okay. I don't know, man. I don't know. The hat might have made it look like he was hiding the bulge. Yeah, and then you look like you're ashamed of it. And like, if you're confidently bald, I don't think people care. But if you look like you're not confident about it, again, the baldness isn't the problem. It's the fact that you look incredibly like insecure, like, and you're like, I have to glue a hat to my head and I will only wear shorts that cover my knees, right? Like, you know what I mean? And that's something that, like, personally, I don't think that makes anyone like super unattractive, but when you put that next to someone who is really confident, right? Like, a lot of people will go for what's confident instead, typically. So I think that's kind of what was doing him that disservice, man. I don't know. Use a top knot, the women will never know. I'm tired of the top knots, dude. I'm tired of it. You can add multiple pics on dating apps, right? Just add a pic with and without. I was trying to tell him, I was like, just make your main photo one with hair on your head. Okay? Like, just do it. And he just hated all pictures of himself, so he was just refusing. He's just, I don't know. I don't know. I was like, you gotta quit dating apps, brother. We were trying to get him to go outside or something. at least once in his life. I don't know. Top knot covering a bald spot would be peak. Oh no. Like you're bald on the crown of your head, so you tie your hair up right above it. Yikes. Yikes. Terrible. So you understand hating pictures of yourself, but you think you look terrible in all of yours. I think a lot of people hate pictures of themselves, but then they look in the mirror and they feel less bad. I think pictures can be tough. I don't like pictures of myself. And everyone around me will look at those pictures and be like, I think you look really good in this one. Oh, I like this picture. We'll take a picture together and they'll be like, oh, everyone looks so cute. And I'm like, I've just learned to tune it out. But then I love myself in the mirror. Like I look at the mirror and I'm like, yay. I look at a picture, I'm like, ah. It's just, I think your brain just does that. I think your brain just does it. I've always been like that. So I'm just like, I'm just not going to pay attention. I'm just going to ignore it. Right? Yeah, same as voice. Right. Same when you hear your own voice. To this day, I'm a lot more used to hearing my own voice, but I hate hearing clips of myself if I can avoid it. When I'm like ready for it and I sit down and listen to it, it's fine. But if I'm in a room and someone just pulls up a video of me talking on their phone, I'm like, turn it off. You know, like, shut that shit off. That's just me. I don't know. It's different when you're prepared for it. Oh, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. I can't. I don't even like hate hearing my voice. I just, something about it. Something about it. You never re-listen to voice notes you've sent? Imagine recording voice notes for yourself so you can remember stuff, but then you can't listen to them because you hate them. Oh, man. That's crazy. That's crazy. You used to work in a call center. You would sit with your manager once a month and listen back to a call you did. They made you listen to them with a manager? I would hate that. Oh, I would hate that so much. You have a very nice voice. Thank you. I mean, well, for me, the issue is like when you talk, you hear your voice in your head, right? Like there are vibrations occurring and your voice always sounds lower in your head and sounds a little bit different. There's a lot of like nuance that you can hear that doesn't come out and get picked up by a microphone. So when I hear myself talking and recording, I'm like, that's not what I sound like, you know? And then I'm just like, yeah, I'm pixels. But I just like hear it and I'm like, that doesn't sound like me. So it's hard to like listen back to a recording and feel like I said that, you know? I also, the tone that I use when I talk isn't how I feel when I talk at all. And I don't know how to describe this, but sometimes I'll listen back to a clip of myself and I feel like the way I sound is not how I felt like I sounded when I was talking at all. I feel that way often, actually, really often. So the way I talk just comes out however it comes out. And when I hear myself back, I'm like, did I say it like that? It's not word choice. It's just like tone or whatever. I don't know. I think a lot of folks, feel that way. Feel that way. Feel that way. Were you watching a penis glow? Feel it with the volume.
In my head.
Yeah.
Actually, me.
Yeah, no, for real. And I don't have a very like high pitched leaning voice. I can go up. I can't really go very far down from here. I kind of speak at a comfortable, like, lower point in my voice. I can go up from here, but I don't usually. I don't know. So there's a cool cadence in your voice. Appreciate this sort of tone. There's a good warmth to it. This may sound stupid, but I appreciate there's this quiet confidence about it. I guess so, but at the same time, like, something I've always dealt with my whole life was people thinking that I think differently than I do because of the way I talk, but it's not intended. you know? So like if I read about something that I thought was cool and then I'm sharing it and I'm just like, did you know XYZ? I would get comments when I was like in school. Yeah, like you said, like people calling you know-it-all. Usually not that bad, not that bad. But I would occasionally get comments in school where people would be like, thinking that like, I don't know, they would be like, they would say, sometimes it was positive, and I would always have to try and shoot this down. They would be like, oh, you sound like you know so much about that thing. And I would be like, no, I read about it. Or they'd ask me more questions about X thing. And they'd be like, it sounds like you, let's say it's like geography of Eurasia, right? I'd be like, oh man, did you know like this country is like the only landlocked whatever, something. Because I read about it once and I thought it was cool and I'm just sharing a fact, right? And then someone would be like, wow, you fucking, you know everything about this. And I'd be like, no, I don't. But I always wondered, why would they think that about me, but not about someone else next to me who could say the same thing? They just share a fact that they read about. Why do they have that opinion of me, but then not them? And I guess it's my tone, right? I don't know. Interested in topic, voice tones always throw people off. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think it's because I'm just like genuinely really interested in this stuff. Right? Like I talk about it because I'm really interested in it. And I try to take interest in like everything, practically everything around me. So I think that's maybe why the tone comes out the way. I don't know. It's hard. People can get enthusiasm and confidence mixed for sure. Yeah. But I think if you just take what I say and write it down, I don't think it comes off that way because the words in my head don't feel that way. I don't know. I've always felt with that though.
This is probably why people think it's super serious over here, but the actual topics are like poop delis half the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tone voice makes your facts 300% more factual.
Thugs. Speak very matter of fact. Your tone sounds direct and authoritative. I guess so. I think I'm just a really direct person. I really think that's it. That's all. I don't know, dog. Have you always been naturally curious, or was it something that you cultivated? It's something my mother cultivated. If I didn't take an interest in something, she'd be like, what, are you not interested? You don't want to know about the world around you? And I would get, not in a bad way, I would get low-key shamed for it. So if I was, let's say we were sitting around, and I saw a leaf shape that was different on a tree than something, I'd be like, oh, that leaf has 5 points. And my mom would be like, do you know why that is? I'd be like, no. And if I didn't go like, why? Tell me. Or sit there and look at her and let her tell me. If I just like turned away and was like, anyway, a butterfly, you know, she'd be like, oh, you don't want to know? Okay, I just won't tell you. You don't have to know anything about trees. It's not like they're all over the world. She wouldn't always be like passive aggressive like that at all. But like, you know what I mean? She'd basically like insinuate that I just don't want to learn. And I'd be like, actually, I do though. And so it was instilled in me really young. Like, you should be curious though, actually. And yeah, so it genuinely, I like rarely would be like, I don't want to know what that is. Or if, yeah, she was just using reverse psychology on me. If I was, and that's when I was like really little, you know, and I pretty early on learned like, okay, it's better. You could know things if you just look them up. You can just go to the library and read shit. So, you know, I think that was instilled in me pretty young. Is it me going on Wikipedia dives? Yeah, I'm one of those. Like, I love to just, I don't know. I see a little thing somewhere and I'm like, how does that work? And then I go look up how it works. And then next thing you know, I'm like 3 articles deep on whatever that thing is. And I just like to read about shit. That's like, I don't know. And then someone will be like, that's a cool looking leaf. And I'll be like, did you know that trees undergo respiration on the underside of their leaves? And there are these 2 cells called guard cells that look like they're like the number 11, like they're like straight next to each other, and then they like open to allow an open airflow. And I'll just start saying this shit because I would be like, how do trees breathe? And then I look it up and I'm like, that's cool. You know, nowhere in that interaction am I like, I want you to know I'm a fucking tree expert, right? I'm just like, hey, this is cool. Right? Yeah, right. I go 10 tabs deep on how do trees breathe.
My grandpa nurtured my ability to be curious and learn. I'm sure he'd be proud of me for using that skill to research which horse girl is the best.
It's what Grampy would have wanted. It's what he would have wanted. You're looking up food and somehow end up on different types of worms for soils. I don't even have a garden, and I regularly watch this YouTube channel of some guy that just shows like advanced gardening. And I'm just like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, agriculture. You know? I don't know, man. I like shit like that. You want to learn about stuff, but your focus is trash, you said? I don't want to be a boomer, but I'm going to be a boomer. The devices are rotting our brains. You need to... Okay, this is going to sound archaic and shitty. You need to print shit out or read it in a physical book in a library. So you are not in front... You can't be at a desk, at a computer. Okay? And I know the internet is where troves of information are. But if you can't keep yourself from, like, clicking to different tabs and opening other shit, then you can't do it like that. You know? You need to, like, go to the library and sit down with a book on a thing. And basically get yourself in this headspace where you can be used to focusing again. And you need to practice that, because I think it is a practice learned behavior, right? You need to sit there and physically read a thing. And you need to do that regularly enough to the point where you can get yourself to sit and read something then in like a Wikipedia article, right? Like be able to sit there and read through, skim through all the major information you're looking for from it without clicking off or looking away. I think people are at the point where they have to like retrain themselves to do it. Because you basically have like positively reinforced yourself a billion times to go get distracted and like click on something else. And now you're stuck, right? You're stuck there. So I think you have to like boot camp yourself, man. You like discipline. Yeah. I think like most people do, you know, because of them damn phones, which sucks. It sucks, but I think a lot of people are in that space for sure. Boo. Yeah, you gotta train. You got stuff. Do you find audiobooks to be an acceptable alternative? I find it hard usually to sit down and focus on reading something. I feel like it's usually because of your ADHD. I guess, but I think no, not entirely. The thing is, are you sitting and listening to the audiobook and just sitting there and not looking at anything? If so, then it's not the same. Or if you're not, rather, it's not the same, right? If you're sitting there listening to that audiobook and you are focused on the audiobook, maybe you're doing a little manual labor, right? Maybe you're folding laundry, but you're able to sit there and listen to the audiobook and fully focus on it, then that's fine. But if you're sitting there and you're listening to the audiobook and you're like doing shit with your hands and your focus is bouncing off of the audiobook, then you're not training that same thing, right? So I think like it doesn't matter which you use as long as your focus is actually on it. And that's why I'm like, oh, sit down with the book, because you're visually stuck on it, you know? Do you feel ADHD is overdiagnosed? I mean, I feel like it probably is nowadays, but it's hard to tell when something is overdiagnosed versus when it's something that was always an issue and then just people didn't notice it before, you know, like the knowledge base got better to be able to understand it better. I think autism is in that camp right now. There's so many people that probably had autism and never got diagnosed, even adults currently that are older that never got diagnosed because it just wasn't understood, right? And now it's understood. So some people are freaking out and they're like, so many more people have autism. Something's causing it. And I'm more so like, I think we just have more of an issue of we didn't know how to diagnose it before, you know, and now we know how to recognize it because the research is a lot better. Still ways to go, even. But, right? Like, I think that's such a mixed question, a mixed answer. But with certain things, I'm sure it's like that. With ADHD, it's hard to tell, like, how many people have this, like, innate born with it brain disorder versus how many people have just become so horrifically undisciplined that they're functionally no different, but maybe they have more of an ability to get themselves out of that, right? Or, you know, OCD is a little like this, right? I'm diagnosed with OCD. I've always had it since I was little. I've always had issues with this, okay? There are people who don't have it and then develop small bits of it over time because your brain is doing normal brain things, and then sometimes in responses to stress or things like that, you start to develop like this weird mechanism, this weird obsessive compulsive, you know, I'm obsessing over this idea that's worrying me, and now I do this compulsion to like soothe my brain, and then that gives me a little dopamine, that gives me a little hit, so I start doing it again. And then some people like fall into it, and not all of them will get diagnosed, but some people go and get diagnosed later, right? So it's like, yeah, stress-induced OCD is a real thing. It is. So that's how I feel about ADHD right now. Like, how many people have it as an innate, you know, your brain just doesn't work right from the get-go kind of thing, versus how many people just developed this issue from the way the world is right now, right? Again, the boomer talk about devices, whatever. I wonder, like, should that be diagnosed differently? I don't know. I feel like there's juries out on too much stuff, and there are all these, like, flying around differing opinions from all these people who are not medically trained. Like, I'll talk about these things, but I'm not going to be like, it needs to be this, because I don't have a PhD in this shit, you know? Right? But I think about it, and I'm like, man, it's probably a distinction between those two, for sure. And people with stress-induced OCD, from what they're seeing, from what studies they have done, they're finding that it's easier for those people to undo and do cognitive behavioral therapy to get out of it a bit and basically get to a point where they wouldn't be diagnosed if retested that day. Whereas people that were born with it have a lot harder issue, you know? So it's tough. I don't know. It's different things, but it's like the same mechanism in your brain. So I guess it's the same. I don't know. It's tough. When I was getting treated, when I was getting looked at for my OCD, they specifically did a lot of asking a lot of questions, a lot of research on me, you know, and like childhood stuff to understand if this was something I had since I was little or not, because it changed a lot of how they would approach me, how they would approach my case, which I thought was really interesting. Because before that, I thought that no matter how you developed it, you probably treat it the same way. But no, they took very different approaches on how they do everything based off of that. So I was like, oh, okay. So I got put into that camp of, you know, had this since young, therefore, you know, we do things a little differently. Whereas a lot of the people that they would treat, they said a lot of people, it was stress-induced. And they said it was, for this doctor, a lot of the more of the people that they treated were stress-induced. So, like, their approach was whatever. And then they were like, oh, you've always had this. And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, okay. And they started going through different sets of questions and stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess there is a big difference. I don't know. You said, as an adult who was diagnosed with ADHD, I can definitely say it's pretty easy to get a diagnosis. You need one before you can try medicines, so doctors will just diagnose you to see if you have it, which is pretty backwards. That's true. I've heard of a lot of cases like that, which seems kind of off. Maybe there should be a pre-diagnosis, like suspected ADHD, approved testing phase or something, you know? I don't know. Your current treatment for OCD is 0 because the compulsions were so bad compared to the typical CBT. Oh, God. Yeah, it could be really rough. Edgar roleplay. Yup. Emotional roleplay. Actually, so there are a lot of different types of OCD, right? They get put into different categorizations. And there's one categorization that is called, well, there are a few that kind of fall under like the romantic or whatever kind of category, but there is relationship OCD, which could also be like friendships, family, etc. But there are people where what their brain tends to focus on and worry about and spiral on as the obsessive part of it is they think about their relationships with other people and they get worried, right? And they can't stop thinking about, do these people actually enjoy me? Whatever. And then they start testing people.
Someone asked me what it was like to be autistic, and I told them to hit themselves in the head with a hammer as hard as they could repeatedly. They asked if it's that bad, and I said no, I want to watch faction redeemed
I've heard that one before. I've heard that one before. No, but there are types of OCD that are like that, right? Where like it just looks like a person where you normally look at them and you'd be like, oh, they're just so weird. She's just crazy or whatever, right? But then you have issues with feeling like, do people actually enjoy me or whatever? And now I have to test. So your compulsion becomes like either you push people away every time they get close, or you start testing them, like asking them certain questions or making them over and over and over affirm or reassure you of something. And it messes with relationships because those people will be like, why do you keep asking me this, right? You'll be like, Mom, do you actually love me? And they'll be like, yes. And they'll be like, but how do I know? Do you though? And they'll ask them every day. And it just turns into this thing, right? So one person had trouble with that and kept pushing people away, whatever. And one of the things that they were told was legitimately like to just ERP. This girl played MMOs and stuff, and she had a really hard time with like getting close to anyone romantically because she felt like the moment you do, you have to start pushing them away. And part of her cognitive behavioral therapy is they were like, bro, just ERP online. Like, honestly, just get used to it in this online setting so you can get used to like this kind of stuff, and then maybe you can apply it to real life. And it actually worked really well for her. I always thought that shit was like, it was such a funny scenario, but like it worked out, you know. So I'm like, okay, I guess I don't know. Does it have to be maladaptive compulsion? Not always, but usually it depends. It depends on the person a lot. The exposure response is insane for OCD. That depends on the person too. I don't know. For me, like, there's so many different little issues that I had, but I would sit there and like the word I would always use was like I had to digest words. So one of the things I would do is I would be reading and I would have to count the letters and I would have to group them in certain ways. And if I didn't do that, my brain would purposefully not remember the word I was trying to read. And I couldn't stop myself from doing it. And that shit was unbearable because it would make me be unable to read. I could not move forward. Literally couldn't stop myself. I not even couldn't stop myself. I would stop myself and I couldn't undo that. And I would sit there and stare at a word on a page. And if I didn't do this process, I could not remember what I would be actively looking at the word and I would be like, I cannot interpret this. My brain would not let me store that in my memory, which was crazy. And I had to do this process to like, then like my brain would allow me to read the word. Yeah, it's really frustrating. And so I would like do this little process really fast with like counting and like grouping some things in a certain way. And I would look at the word, do that, and I learned to do it so fast my brain would just do it automatically, and then I would read the word. And now that I don't do that as much. Now I'm like really fast at reading because I can just go because I had to try and keep up in school, and I didn't tell anyone that I had this issue for a long time. So I would just do this in my head when reading, and I would keep up with, you know, schoolwork and stuff. And it was just bad, dude. It was bad. But the good news is I would remember how to spell a lot of words. I was really good at spelling. Really, really good at spelling because I would do that. So that helped, I guess. Was this a thing even when you learned to read super early? Yes. Yeah, I was reading really young, so I don't remember everything from like my first little bits of reading ever, but from as far back as I can remember, I was doing that. The process changed over time. It wasn't always the same thing that I would do when I'd be like counting little letters and moving them around in my head or whatever. But at the very least, anytime I was in school, I definitely did it. And I'm pretty sure I remember doing it earlier, but it's like, you know, hazy kid memories and stuff. So I don't know, dude. But I don't know. I don't know, dog. Did you notice these things yourself, or did someone else have to point it out? I was always aware. I was always aware, but I did it so quickly that I didn't it didn't cause me a problem, or so I thought. It wasn't causing me any issues. I wasn't unable to keep up in class. I would actually finish reading passages before other people still, and would close the book and be sitting there and waiting for other people to finish reading a passage. So because of that, because there was no resulting issue, I didn't bring it up. I just didn't for a long time. And then, you know, at some point I got old enough where I was like, you should point out things that aren't normal. Right? So I did eventually. But other stuff got noticed because a lot of the stuff that I did was purely in my head. I didn't have a lot of physical compulsions. So there really wasn't much to notice. But there were a few things that were noticed. One of my teachers pointed out that when I would write notes, I would go back over and retrace what I wrote a lot. And sometimes I would do it to a scary degree. So sometimes like I would bleed the pen ink through the paper entirely to like the next page down because I would just be going over and over and over. Like the page would be wet and I would use all my pens really fast. And I would go back over it. And some teachers noticed it but didn't say anything. They thought I was just bored because I would like finish an assignment quickly or something. But I know what it was. It was because I would write something and it wouldn't feel right. It wouldn't feel right or wouldn't look right. So I'd do it again. And then I'd do it again. And now that I did it again, here's what I would do. Let's say you write a whole page's worth of notes. And the first letter, you write the, right? And the T, something about it doesn't feel right, doesn't look right. So I trace over it. Now the boldness. If everything else is in 1 point and this one's in 2 point thickness, now I'm like, shit, it looks uneven. And I would go and make everything on the page 2 point, right? Where I would go through and I'd like make it equally bold. And then some of those would be a little bolder because I wouldn't be doing it perfectly. And I would just be like, fuck. And I would do it more. And I think this is a thing that enough people do. But I would do it every day and I would do it constantly. And if I didn't do it, the level of stress I would feel was insane. Insane. And someone noticed that it was a problem when a teacher could not get me to not do it. When they said, hey, you need to hand this in. And I got so like stressed that I couldn't even explain why. I had no words and I was just like tunnel visioning on it. And they were like, okay. And thank God this teacher noticed. They were like, okay, something is really off here. Because I was like so normal otherwise. And I just had this thing I did. And yeah. So that was like the first thing that got noticed. Because I feel like everyone does little things like that. But there was some shit that, you know, the level to which I did, the severity was really high. So, I don't know. Imagine if you were writing with a brush. I liked writing with markers and things like that better because I didn't feel like it was as imperfect. But when I wrote with pen or with pencil, which are the two writing tools you usually write with, you know, in school, those two, I felt like I had to do it all the time. Constantly. It was terrible, man. That's the part people often miss when they're like, oh yes, I totally count tiles while I'm walking as well, so I'm so OCD. Oh my god, I know. I know. There's other stuff. I mean, I'm describing the ones that are like easiest to describe. There's a lot of stuff with like visualization and things that like being unable to will away certain things. You ever have like strong mental imagery, right? You ever like daydream, and sometimes you daydream so hard that the visual centers of your brain, right? What you're seeing in front of you with your eyeballs is not what's at the forefront of what's visually happening in your brain, right? It's just daydreaming. Everyone does it. Sometimes I would have issues with being unable to stop visualizing something. And that was the most difficult thing to get rid of. Or I would sit around and be doing a thing. You have those moments where you're like, your brain thinks a morbid thought here and there because it's like a normal mechanism, a survival mechanism, right? You'll be like holding something heavy and like someone walks next to you and you imagine yourself dropping it on their foot and you're like, oh, don't do that. Your brain does that to remind you like, hey, this bad thing can happen, so don't. And then you like grip the container better, right? Something like that. I had huge issues with not being able to will that away. So that was one of my worst. That one I still have, but not as bad. But that one, that is really, really, really hard to like get rid of. And it's bad because I also have really like strong visualizations of everything. And so then my brain, instead of sitting there and imagining like a singular scene and being like, oh, let me make sure that doesn't happen, I would imagine the next like 30 minutes, the aftermath, everything. Because then I'd be like, oh God, I got to think through all the worst possible scenarios and what I would do in those cases. And if I don't sit there and think through them, then I'm not prepared. That's what my brain would tell me, right? Then I'm not prepared for it. So then I'd literally stand there. This is when I went to, like, when I was like, I need to see someone and, work on this. Because I would sit there holding a heavy thing, right? And I would think about like this negative thing that could happen. But I would just stand there literally for 5 minutes, standing still. And if someone would watch me, they'd look at me and I'd just be standing there, doing nothing. My head would be full of thoughts, but I'd be standing there, just looking at the thing I was holding, like, yeah, standing man emoji. And I'm just, you know what I mean? I'm just like making sure in my head that I know what to do or whatever. And I would like ruminate on this stuff. And it wasn't until I realized how long I was spending doing that sometimes that then I was like, okay, now I need to like do something about this. And that was when I went and got shit taken care of. And now I don't stand there for 5 minutes ruminating on stuff like that, obviously, right? Like I've spent years working on that. But that definitely is like one of those types of OCD that I feel like people don't talk about. They think it's always like, oh, this book on this shelf is tilted and I'm gonna make it stand up straight. Oh, these two things stacked on each other, the corners don't match up, I'm gonna match the corners. They do that and they're like, I'm so OCD, haha. And I'm like, brother, that's not what it is. That's such a small portion of people that have it too. It's more so people with like doing shit in their brain like I would do. I don't know. Yeah, that show Monk really gave people the wrong impression of these types of conditions. I don't know. Rumination is one of the things your wife gets caught up in real bad, and is how her OCD shows up the most. Yeah, that was the worst for me, was having to sit there and think a scenario over and over to be like, because again, this goes back to the earlier conversation. I'm a results-oriented person, right? So I would sit there and I'd be like, okay, if this bad thing happens, what are all the different ways it could happen? I gotta sit here and visualize it so I can like picture it and be prepared, which meant I'd have to sit there and visualize a bunch of shit that I don't want to visualize at all, right? So you like end up getting distressed depending on what you're visualizing because of that, and you can't will the images away. You can't just be like, don't, haha, like you can with most thoughts. So like you'd do that, and then you'd think through every scenario, or I would think through every scenario and like go through, okay, what do I do if this happens? What do I do if that happens? Blah, blah, blah. And like the next thing you know, I've just been standing in a spot for 5 minutes. You know? Which is terrible. Terrible. And then sometimes I'd start doing shit that was almost like nesting. I'd start like putting items in certain places so I could feel prepared in case something happens. So now I don't do this, but for the longest time I had like band-aids and Neosporin and stuff in a drawer in every room. Every room. Or I always had to carry certain things on me. I had issues where I was one of the hand over washers. I would wash my hands all the time. And I couldn't let people like touch me because I'd think about transferring of skin and oils and shit like that, right? I was like crazy. So I would bring baby wipes and things like that with me literally everywhere. And so if someone like touched my arm, I could be like, well, I'm fine. I don't need to be stressed about this, because I could pull out a wipe and go and wipe my arm. And then I would, you know, I would try to do it like secretly so people wouldn't see it. So that way they wouldn't think I'm like finding them disgusting, you know? Because then I'd be like, I don't want them to feel like shit. But like, yeah, I used to carry stuff like that with me literally everywhere. Having band-aids in your wallet isn't so bad. It's not a bad thing at all. It's still a good thing. But being like, I have to have some in my car. I have to have some in this bag. I have to have some in that bag. I have to have some in, you know, this desk drawer. I have to, you know, right? Like it was to a bad degree. And if I would sit there, sometimes I would just like picture a scenario happening, and then I'd be like, where are my nearest band-aids? And if they weren't like close, I would get up, go get some, and put them somewhere nearby. Right? Like I'd have some shit I was supposed to do, and instead my brain would be like, this is more important, and I would go do that thing. Right? Yeah, coming up with plan F for band-aid scenarios. Yeah. Exactly. So it's stuff like that, like, you know, when you have that strong of issues with it, then you should go see somebody. If you're just like you're ruminating a little bit, I mean, talking to someone's still good, but it's not the worst, you know? Doomsday prepping. Yeah, stuff like that. I didn't go full doomsday prep, but a lot of people that are like actually into doomsday prepping, folks suspect that they have OCD or anxiety disorders or like things related, because the level to which they're like prepping sometimes it's well beyond hobby, and sometimes they're completely delusional about it. Sometimes they're aware they're being crazy. You know, it's tough. It's hard to diagnose those people because usually they're like not gonna go to therapy about it. They're like, I'm right. You know? So that's why you said I do this all the time in blueprints on that puzzle room when the answer was ruminating. That's why I knew that word was it so fast. I saw it and I was like, my favorite word. My favorite word. Yeah. Yeah. He said, I have 5 tourniquets in every room. Yeah. A lot of these aren't current issues, because I noticed these being like real problems a long time ago and started working on stuff, and I'm able to like not be bad about it. But when I was at my worst, a lot of it was like, oof. It was a lot. He said, I'm at a loss at how you would prep an emergency underground bunker. You'd have to like create or make or buy a bunker, which, dude, if doomsday is coming, just take me out. I'm not trying to live through it. I'll never understand doomsday prepping. I'm like, you really want to live in a bunker for 6 months and not know what's on the outside? Take me the fuck out. Doomsday's coming. I'm gonna stand outside and look up, you know, like I'm no thanks. I'm good. Yeah, no video games, no internet. I'm okay. So I'll be at Costco. That stuff's gonna go bad eventually, and it's not gonna have power. I don't know, man. How am I gonna live without watching a new librarian video every day? Exactly. Can still play offline games though. With what electricity? Right? This depends. Do you still have that kind of infrastructure or do you not? I think humanity would find a way, but I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. I can't live without him. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, man. Generate electricity by cycling. But then you have to feed yourself a lot because you're cycling all the time. Okay? I'm okay. I'm okay. Solar panels and a Steam Deck. Yeah, no. No. I'm alright. And obviously, like, it all depends on the level to which things are cooked. Some doomsday plots are literally Fallout. Some doomsday plots are like, you have to live in a bunker for a while, but when you come out, things aren't so bad, right? Some of them are just like, we lost the internet, but everything else is pretty alright, you know? So, it depends. It depends. If it's just like one where the internet died, but a lot of other stuff is still okay, then like, I would be alright. I'll read books. I don't know, but I wouldn't be the biggest fan. I wouldn't be the biggest fan. I think losing the internet would be terrible, but also wouldn't be that bad. We're approaching the point where like everything is bots and nothing's real. We're already like a bit of the way into that. So I would be okay with it. I would be okay with it. I'd be all right with it. And hey, you know, maybe I'm a little biased because I've lived through times where no one was really using the internet. So for me, I'm just like, oh, you mean we just go back? Okay. It's not so bad. But I think maybe if you didn't deal with that, then maybe it's like worse to think about. I don't know. I don't know. You miss late 90s and early thousands internet? Yeah, I think everything was the best before like 2008 or so. Or specifically like 2006 and prior. I think that shit was incredible. It was the best. But it was a really selected group of people. So, yeah. It's like this with every site or every community. It's that thing where when it's a small group of people, or not just small, when it's like a specifically selected group of people, everything feels great because you're around people that are really similar. They're on the same page for the most part, right? You're in that building phase. And then when things get opened up and more people that wouldn't normally like this thing are now interacting with this thing, you start to feel like it changes, it gets different. It's just that.
Joke's on
right?
you. Unless it's some uber worldwide apocalypse, the power and water would go out before the internet because of satellite-powered networks we have. I die watching He's Bald.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, take me out, dude, you know? Take me out. Public forum internet best one. I think when we were using BBSs and then like forums for every game and every hobby, I think that was good. And then we got to meme sharing and we had stuff like YTM&D, right? There's some random shit like Jib Jab, things like that, you know, like that era wasn't bad at all. I think that was pretty good. I liked it. And then yeah, I wasn't a 9gag user. I wasn't on something awful, actually. I wasn't. But you get to this point where people started just like bandwagoning, and I think the moment people started bandwagoning, that's where it was just I I knew I had to like crawl into a hole, you know? I was like, I have to go and just crawl into a hole with my people. I have to find my circles and just be there, because the wider everything, I'm just not interested in anymore. That's all. And early on, if you asked me if there was going to be a time where I was just like not interested in the generalized internet, I would have been like, you're crazy. But yeah, no, for many years now, I've been like, yeah, I'm just not interested. I'm good. Like, even being a creator, I like this because I can moderate shit, right? We can moderate the chat. We can moderate the Discord. We can make sure it's like kept the way we want it to be. Same, even YouTube, I can just lock down comment sections if I don't want to deal with it, right? But I don't know. It's like it's the most I'll do. And I'm doing it like fairly anonymously, so, you know. I think outside of that, I would not. If I weren't a content creator, I would just be in my hole playing an MMO, and that'd be it. That would be all. That would be all. You miss the days where you never interacted with the internet besides watching videos, no social media or anything? Yeah, I got rid of a lot of stuff really early on. Like, I tried whatever platforms, decided I didn't really like social media, and just kind of got rid of them. And then I just messaged friends. I always had, like, you know, AIM, then Skype, then Discord. And that was enough for me. But I was also lucky in that I've always had, like, a bunch of friends that I could just talk to, groups of people, etc. So I didn't really, like, go seek that out. You know? I had my people that I played games with and stuff, so I was able to stay in our little bubbles. Or even like last night, you know, I finished work that I was gonna do. I ate food. I was chilling, and what did I do? I hopped into a VC with a bunch of friends that are in VC every day with each other. Some people are playing games. Some of them are playing WoW. Some of them are like watching videos, and we're just in a VC chilling. And I'm like, this is nice. This is good. But nowhere during any of that time am I like, I'm just going to open YouTube and watch a billion videos. I'm going to go comment on some shit I saw on Twitter or whatever. You know what I mean? So I prefer to keep it that way. That's why I like Discord community, because as a creator, I can have a community that we keep cleaned up. And then if people want that and they're like, I just want to hop in VC and have a spot I can go to, it can be a spot, right? Like, I think that's the best version of the internet you can have right now. Anything that's like fully moderated, it means that people can, like, you know, check, is this a real person? Is this person's vibes really off, etc., etc. Outside of that, like the unmoderated internet, I just have no interest in it at this point. Hope they don't make too many changes to Discord. Yeah, they've tried stuff here and there. What I do like is when they added Discovery, you could like press a button to make your Discord private, meaning it won't show up in Discovery queues at all. So I think they understand that. We'll see what happens with it. I don't think they need to change it. I really don't think they do. What I do want, as a creator, I thought it'd be really cool for them to have Discovery features for streamers or for video creators or whatever, and make it so that, like, if you have shit, yeah, we need Discord home, exactly, but if you have shit to do, like, let's say I'm streaming, someone's in my Discord, I think a homepage that then shows that I'm streaming and has like a thing going, and then also shows the Discord server, whatever, like that kind of stuff could be nice. Could be nice. I think that's the most I would want. Everything else, I don't need anything. I don't think we need anything else at all, right? But yeah, I do want like a Discord. I think everyone needs their own like home, literally, in Discord, a place that they keep going, and then I want a home page, so all the places that aren't like my main spots to go, they aren't like my own server and my friends' servers, I could see what's going on in them. Outside of that, I'm good. Everything else, fuck it. So do you feel like doing collabs, though, are harder now since most stick to pre-existing friend groups? It makes sense, but rip the little guys. It was always like that. Like, if we're just talking VTubing, the little guys were all in their little friend groups. The thing is, some of those friend groups grew by nature of people looking for VTubers to watch, and then they would find this one group, and they just watch those friends. It was always in little friend groups. I don't think that's changed. And then some of those friend groups grew together. But a lot of the people that I'm currently friends with, we met when we were all smaller VTubers. One of the first people that I followed and who followed me back was Geary, and we were both at, like, no viewers. Okay? I've known her. I think I was at, like, 40 viewers, and she was at, like, 20 or something like that. Which is crazy to think about compared to now. But I remember finding her, and she wasn't even doing her hand cam shit yet. We were talking about it, and she was like, I think it'd be cool to do that. And I was like, you should totally do cooking. I love that. Okay. We talked about that shit way back then. So, you know, and now someone could look at us being friends and be like, oh, the people who are known are friends or whatever. But, like, we both knew each other when we were, like, tiny in comparison to now, and then we both grew. That's just how it is. I think a lot of people are like that. You know, that's just how it is, man. That's just how it is. I have a lot of friends like that I've been friends with for a long time. So, Geary's so cool, so fun. I love Geary. Hey, shout out to Geary when I had my surgery and I was recovering from that, and I was just like, it was like my first day or two out of the hospital and stuff. One of the only people who reached out to me every day, regularly, other people reached out, but Geary messaged me every single day to, like, check in. Just to check. Just saying. Just saying. She's the best. Do you stream full time or do you need another job? Don't want to pry. Just curious about how Twitch is paying. I stream full time. I do also have a YouTube and a Discord, but that's it. So it's pretty much just streaming. And I don't do my other work usually, but occasionally if I am needed, there's something that they need me to do and they want me to just do a couple of hours here or there, like 3 hours in a month or whatever the fuck, like I will still do stuff sometimes if I'm needed. But for the most part, I'm like, don't ask me, you guys can do it. But if I'm needed, you know, I could still do little bits here and there. But I default to not doing it. It's more so if I'm asked. You know? What'd you say? You said there's an aspect of this where the people complaining about not being able to get into these quote-unquote pre-formed friend groups as only trying to break into friend groups of popular people, not like networking with others at their level because there isn't much benefit to them. Might be too cynical saying that. No, I don't think you're too cynical because I've seen it a lot and it feels bad. It feels bad. I've seen a lot of people like crash out on Twitter about like, oh, the big VTubers don't want to be my friend, but it will be like a person that I had just heard about the other week because someone would be like, hey, if this person messages you, be careful. They're just like friending a lot of people that like all have numbers and then just like spamming them for collabs. And I would see this pattern happen a lot. So, you know, and I'm not gonna say they're all like that, but I've seen that happen enough times and I'm like, okay, you know, okay. They just ask. Or like one that's tough for me, I never know how to handle it. Sometimes I'll see someone who I think is like interesting, or I liked like one post that they made, so I follow them on Twitter. I just think they seem cool. That's all. So I follow them, and then they follow me, and they like message, and they're like, "Thank you so much for the follow. Really means a lot." And I'm like, okay, nothing wrong with them saying that, but like, anytime I see that, 9 times out of 10, I know where this is leading, and I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. I liked your post about whatever, you know. And then they're like, thanks, and then the next day, hey, here's a link to my Discord server in case you ever want to hang out. Me and my friends hang out in here all the time and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, they're not even doing anything wrong, so I don't want to react negatively to it. But they just like start shooting their shot instantly. And I don't really think there's anything wrong with shooting your shot. I'm never mad at them for doing it, but I don't know how to handle it sometimes because I'm like, I just wanted to follow you on Twitter. Yeah, they're imposing a bit. And I'm like, how do you tell them, hey, I don't want to join this Discord? Like, I can barely keep up with my friends that I already have in value. And I would, I like can't, you know, like time wise. It's different if I had all the time in the world, but I don't. So I'm like, you know, like, what do you say to it? It can be tough. So sometimes I'll be like, I'll just say it straight up. I'll be like, I don't really have the time to be like sitting in VC hanging out, but I appreciate the offer. I'll say that. And I've seen people where I've said that to them, then post the next day and be like, no one wants to be my friend. And I'm like, you know, I'm like, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. Because you have to reject it. You can't accept this every time it happens. You can't, you know? It's impossible. But I'm not trying to make someone feel bad. And even if I say it as nicely as I can think of saying it, people will still, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's just setting a boundary. It's rough. I don't know what to say to these people sometimes. And then you see it and I'm like, I'm not going to bring this up now. Now it's dramatic. Ryuko said, I learned you can't collab with everyone because Jesus fucking Christ. Oh man, I'm not even going to describe it. Ryuko had a moment. Yeah, no, you can't. You can't. Number one, you don't have the time. Number two, look, if you're streaming just to have fun and just to play games with friends and you are not in any way trying to grow, you do not care about your audience's entertainment level, you only care about yourself, then yes, collab with everyone, do whatever, try whatever. But if you care about the viewer experience, okay, then yeah, you can't collab with everyone. Some people, your chat is just, they're just not going to want to watch them. Some people, like, their communities just want a lot of completely solo streams. They just don't want a lot of collabs. Some of them do want a lot of collabs, but only with, like, people that are similar to them, similar types of entertainment, because they watch your stream because they find you entertaining, right? So if you bring on people that maybe you like, but they're, like, very different from you, sometimes it just doesn't land, you know? So it just doesn't always work out. And it doesn't mean you dislike that person. But if you care about your audience being entertained, sometimes you gotta like tailor it a bit, you know? And that is a really hard conversation. Like, how do you tell someone that? Hey, I really enjoy you. I'll play games with you off stream, but I can't bring you onto my stream. Because that shit just don't land, right? That sucks. That sucks. Because then you're essentially telling them, my community doesn't find you entertaining. That's hard to tell somebody. But what do? Not say something and keep bringing them on? Just tell them, hey, I only want to play off stream and not explain why? You know? Yeah, sometimes you just don't have that on-stream chemistry. Like, you have it, like, as friends off-stream talking to them directly, but you don't have that, like, in an entertaining way. You know? That could be really, really, really tough to, like, navigate. Like what you do. I don't know. That sucks. that just sucks, you know? I don't know. So it's one of those things that, like, I don't know. And some communities are really resistant to it. Some communities are like, we're trying shit out. They don't care. They'll watch anything as long as you're in it. And other communities are like, I want this type of entertainment, and if I'm not getting this type of vibe, then I'm just gonna go watch another stream, right? So it's like, sometimes you just don't have a community that will accept it. Right? They don't mean poorly by it, it's just that they come there to get entertained, right? You're providing a service and the service isn't what they want right now, and that's, I don't know, that could be really tough. You feel like most people understand this, but then the people let their chance blind them too much. I think most people, if you say this to them, like you talk about it in a meta way like this, they're like, yeah, I completely get it. But yeah, when it happens to them, suddenly they like can't, they have a hard time dealing with it. And I don't blame them. I don't blame them at all. I don't know. Like, I just try dragging random friends on all the time. And look, I'm aware that I have certain friends that if I collab with them, people are not as into it as they are with other friends. I know there's a difference. There's certain people that when they show up, everyone's like, yay, clapping, and others where they're like, okay. And I'm like, whatever. You just have to like balance. You just have to balance. Thankfully, this community isn't too bad with it, you know? So I don't have to be like the worst hard ass about it or anything, but I don't know. Still hold hope in your heart for the Archon Outer Wilds podcast. Yeah. I gotta bother him about it. Yep. Oh man, we need it. We need it. We need it so badly. I said, hey girl, love your 45-minute bit about asparagus, but my community really isn't into vegetable-based comedy. We're gonna have to let you go from the collab list. It's vibe and joke type. It's just vibe and that's it, man. I think what this community doesn't do well with is when I bring someone on and their humor is just like, haha, I am so immature. Haha, I make bad choices because I'm a stupid idiot. Watch me make a stupid choice on screen. It's so funny. Please clap, right? When that's the type of like humor, this community is like, oh. Oh. I think that's the one thing that really does not hit here. Everything else is usually fine. But that, I don't know. It doesn't work here. I've noticed. And like it can work a little bit, but when it's like only that is what I'm talking about, right? When it's only that and it's just like so strong. I've noticed you guys just straight up stop typing. And I feel bad. I'm like, oh no. I'm like subjecting them to this. I feel so bad, dude. Ooh, you said you hate when the banter's a little too familiar, like girl, we just started talking. Yeah, I don't like that either. I meet someone and I bring them on for one collab and they're like, it's time, and they start popping off and I'm like, please. I don't know. So there's certain like groups I feel like I've sort of like become friends with and then really quickly just take into them because I'm like, okay, we have a similar vibe. Not that we like act the same or our streams feel the same, but you can tell we're in like the same place in life, you know, shit like that. And then there are some groups of people where I'm like, I just don't think I can be here. I don't even hate these people ever. I'm just like, I just don't think I can be here, you know? You never understood the girl failure thing? It depends on how it's done. It depends on how it's done. There's like a, oops, I'm so silly girl failure, and then there's the like, I'm gonna play with fire girl failure, you know what I mean? This is different kind of flavors. For sure. But, you know, and one, you guys are like, oh, she's just being silly, and then another, you guys are like, can she stop? You know? Like, I know you know what you're doing, please stop. Different flavors. Girl, get your shit together. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's also easy to tell when it's like a little bit of a bit and you're just being funny versus when you're like, I must make this my everything. I'm putting on my stupid suit. You know? So a lot of them ham up girl failure very well, but you can tell it's a very well-honed bit. Yeah, but again, it's how you do it and it's what it's about. There's like a little girl failure and then there's like a... I'm making sure I portray myself as like a literal inept stupid idiot baby, you know? Like, and there's different levels, right? There's severity and everything too. There are people who have like little moments and those little moments get clipped and that's just a moment and that's fine, right? Everyone has those moments, all right? No matter how smart you are, how together you are, whatever, everyone has those moments. That's fine. But then there are people who do like 100 pratfalls in a row mentally in front of you, and you're like, okay, all right, all right. Like, it's too much sometimes. Yeah, like the oopsie poopsie one is like, whatever, right? That's just a little bit. That's just a bit. I don't know. But I think overall, like, if people like that, then people like that, right? I don't really see the issue there. It's just more so that certain groups of people will want to watch that and others won't, right? And then it makes it so that there will be some people that I genuinely enjoy. But if I try to do certain things with them, some people will get like kind of tired of the content quickly because they're like, I'm tired of this person being unable to press 2 buttons, you know, or whatever it is, right? So it could be different. It could be different. You said the other issue is when you vibe just fine with the streamer themselves, but it turns out the content type respective audiences are accustomed to has nearly no overlap. Yeah. That's happened a lot. I have a lot of people that I'm friends with, but we don't really stream together because we're just like, we content-wise don't have anything in common. And that's fine. That's just totally fine. You just talk to them outside of it, you know? Nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. I just think those are conversations people should be willing to have. And they should not feel like that directly is a representation of how much someone likes them as a person, you know? It's 2 different things. 2 different things. There's some people that, like, I'm friendly with. We're not that close. But then the on-stream chemistry is great. And, like, and we make great streams. And I'm like, okay, right? I don't even dislike them at all. I'm just like, they're not my bestie. But when you watch us on stream, we might as well be. Right? And I think that's fine, too. Content is not real life. Streaming is not real life, you know? Plain and simple. Plain and simple. That being said, I wanted to play a game today, but I have games that we were playing, but I've by and large finished them. I've finished them. So now I don't know what to do. And Mafia comes out soon, but it's not out yet. It comes out August 7th. Yeah, so it's Thursday. So we have today and we have Wednesday before that comes out. So no, I don't want to play RimWorld. I actually don't like RimWorld. I've realized I only like it if I'm playing a multiplayer with friends. I do not enjoy solo RimWorld. I don't know why. I do know why. I just don't want to explain it. I don't feel like explaining it, but I don't enjoy it. What about Dwarf Fortress? I don't enjoy it either. For the same reasons. I enjoy the concept of it. I really, really, really enjoy the concept of it. Don't like playing it. So, that stinks. Not that it doesn't stink that much, but that stinks. But I don't know if there's anything, like, new. He says play something sweet and small, something like Slay the Princess, maybe? We've already played that. We played a lot of stuff like that. I could open He Is Coming. Ever seen Return of the Obra Dinn? I have an entire VOD series on it already. Can you read us an excerpt from your favorite book? No, it's not public domain, unfortunately. I wish I could. I wish I could. Like New York Game Connections. You mean New York Times Connections? I already did. I play it every day when I wake up. I already did. What What about Meat and Fuck Kingdom 3 Game of the Year Edition? I already watched a friend play it in Discord. We always make our shyest friend play weird games. Can I introduce Billionaire? Already played it. See, that's the problem. We played so many good games. There's Connections Archive where you can play all of the old ones. I don't think you know how long I've played all of the New York Times games. I've done so many, and I don't want to do anything like that right now. I'm not feeling it. But no, I've been doing that for a very long time, so that won't work. So jealous that GEEGA got to watch Dreadplate work massage. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. He goes through the massage sequence and then like the aftermath happens and he's like, well, that's unprofessional. He'd be like, she's so unprofessional. I was crying and he wasn't even laughing. He was just saying it. I was in tears. I was in tears. Oh my God. Funniest shit I'd ever seen in my life. In my life. Night Rain. Night Rain might be a good one. Night Rain, not too bad. I think He Is Coming, not too bad. Let me look and scroll through and see if there's anything that I haven't played yet that I wanted to play. Vangers. I'm not opening Vangers. I'm not doing it. Grounded 2. So we have a group playthrough that we're just waiting for like a hot fix before opening it. I could open it and just do a solo playthrough. I could. But I feel like that's weird to do. Is it weird? I don't know. Maybe it's not. But if I go and march on ahead, I don't know. If I march on ahead on that, and then I go and have to do the same tasks, but in a group, I feel like it's redundant. I don't know. Hop on Valorant, big dog. I hate tactical shooters. Shitman, I guess, Le Chief. Oh, I could do like Hitman special levels. That's not a bad idea either. You mentioned Vintage Story in our last Grounded stream. Forgot if you wanted to play it again. I do, but I want to do it with a group. I keep asking Boone. I'm like, Boone. A cockroacha! I need him to join me for Vintage Story. I need it. Anna dreams of barbecue. I could do more Sunshine. Maybe. That could be good. I think maybe more Sunshine because we did one day of it, and then I think something came out. Oh, I was on my Grounded arc at that point. That one's not too bad. Not a bad idea. But I think Vintage Story is so slow going when you play it solo, so that's why I really want to do it with a group. Gotta get to the Yoshi lily pad level. Oh, no, you mean the mushrooms at the underneath the shit. Oh, I hate it so much. I hate it so much. Would you play Abiotic Factor? I've seen it. I don't know that it's my type of game. I don't know. Or is it my type of solo game? Maybe not solo. It seems okay. It seems good. I feel like I don't know. A lot of the games that sound good, I want to hold for a group, you know? So the one on the island at Isle Delphine, you gotta ride the boats too. Oh, okay. Okay. Slightly less absurd suggestion, but still a roguelite FTL. Oh, I love FTL. I love FTL. It's so good. There's part of me that just wants to get a really good He Is Coming run done. There was also an update. We could just do that for a bit. Maybe. It gets so good. Yeah. I think I want to do it. Any desire to return to Nubby's Number Factory? Nah. You said a game you wish didn't lose funding was given up on was the Blackout Club. Oh yeah, I remember that one. I was waiting for them to finish more stuff on it, and then they dropped it, and I was like, what do you mean you dropped it? I was so upset. Have you beaten both areas of He's Coming? Nope. I gotta go through it. Maybe we do that. I think that's the vibe we need right now. I'm doing it. I'm opening it. I'm opening it, and I am turning off the BGM. And I am going... Woo! There it is. I'm going